All right, so the call has begun recording. My name is Ralia, and I'm going to be your moderator for this evening. If you are joining us from Nigeria, welcome. If you're joining us from another African country, you're welcome. And if you're joining us from anywhere else in the world, we are truly delighted to have you here with us. Thank you for choosing to spend your Saturday evening investing in something that many people often overlook, the skills that shape our careers. As more participants continue to join us, I would love for you all to introduce yourselves in the chat box. Please tell us your name, where you are joining from, what your current occupation is, or what your career aspiration is, and one skill you believe every employer values in the modern day job market. There is no right or wrong answer. So let's do that and give others time to join up. Kindly put your answers in the chat box below so that we can all introduce ourselves. Please let's put down our names and where we are joining from in the chat box so that we can have a little introduction before the rest join up. All right, we have one input, which is Rabiu Rahman A. Rabiu Rahman A is joining from Katsina, and he's a data analyst and a science educator. Current job market is skills endowed, and anyone with right skill is already in money. That is absolutely true, Mr. Rahman. If you have the right skills and you have the right positioning and you know how to sell your skills, then definitely you are already on your way to making money. Next, we have Praise Chinedu. Yes, Martins Chinedu is joining from Kano State, Nigeria. Yes, absolutely. Good communication skill is one skill everyone should have. That is absolutely on point, Mr. Praise. That is very, very true. Because without communication, then what will be done? Nothing. So true. That is very true. Kindly keep your inputs coming. This is nice. We've started well so far. I'm loving the inputs we have gotten. Nice. Nice. Yes, please keep it coming. Let's give the energy that is needed. Yes, next we have Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph Ejisi is joining from Calabar, and he is a data analyst and financial analyst. That is beautiful, Mr. Joseph. Thank you so much for your input. Thank you so much. I can see more persons have joined us. Kindly drop in the chat box your name, where you're joining us from, your current occupation, and one skill you believe every employer values today. Beautiful. Next, we have Mr. Douglas Echo. Mr. Douglas Basi is joining from Zaria, Kaduna State. He says one of the major skill is adaptability. That's true. You need to be able to adapt to whatever work environment you find yourself in. Yes, that's absolutely true, Mr. Douglas. Thank you so much for your input. Thank you so much. Next input we have is from Mr. Prince. Mr. Prince is Mr. Prince Ukam, and he is joining us from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Prince is a medical laboratory scientist by profession and also a national health fellow representing Biazi local government area. That's beautiful, Mr. Prince. I believe that in today's business world, most employers value honesty. Nice, yes, you absolutely have to be honest. They would pick an honest person over a hardworking and dishonest person. That is absolutely true. Honesty goes a long way. Honesty goes a long way because if you're dishonest, no matter how skillful you are, nobody would want to work with you because they just can't trust you. That's true, Mr. Prince. That's true. Thank you so much for this amazing input. Thank you so much, Mr. Prince. Please keep your inputs coming. I'm loving the ones we have so far. Please keep them coming.
láìsí òun kóun ti dàgbà. Kí ni mo tọ́ tí mo fẹ́ máa rà fún báyìí? Kí ni ohun tí mo lè rí tí mo lè rà fún is just done.
We have an input from Mr. Joseph. To add to his introduction, what employers or organizations value today is skilled sales representatives who understand the organization market product. This will keep the organization far ahead in the society of today. That is absolutely true, Mr. Joseph, especially because actually sales drives an organization forward. That is what keeps any company afloat. If you don't make sales, then how will you keep your operations moving? That is true, Mr. Joseph. Thank you so much for this input. It is true. We also have an input from Condoleezza. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Condoleezza is a public health professional and the National Health Fellow representing Etuk local government area. Yes, a good skill in today's world will be to have competence and character. True, true, true. If you're competent and you have a good character, then you're unstoppable. That's absolutely true, Miss or Mrs. Condoleezza. Thank you so much for your input. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Mr. Clement. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. And apologies for the few minutes lateness. I think today the internet decided to show that I'm a Nigerian.
All right, so we are officially going to begin since we have our guest of honor amongst us. I welcome you, ladies and
Thank you very
gentlemen,
much.
on behalf of the health technologists. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our Job Readiness Conference 4.0. I want to begin with a simple observation. For a long time, many of us believed that earning a degree was the finish line. They would say, study hard, graduate, apply for jobs, then you will get hired. Easy, simple. But somewhere along the line, the rules changed. And I believe you all noticed. Today, employers are asking different questions. Can you solve this problem? Can you communicate effectively? Can you adapt? Can you think critically? Can you work with people? Can you use technology? Yes, your degree may get your CV noticed, but your skill often determines whether you get the opportunity and whether you keep it. That is why tonight's conversation matters. This isn't another motivational event where we leave feeling inspired for a few hours and forget everything by the next morning. Mm-mm-mm. The goal is practical to help you understand what today's employers truly value and how you can position yourself ahead of the competition. Whether you are a student, whether you are a graduate, an entrepreneur, or working professional, I believe you will leave this conference with ideas you can apply immediately. Thank you once again for being here. Let's make every minute count.
All right. Thank you very
Our
much
speaker,
for that.
yes,
You
thank
can
you
go on,
so
please.
much,
Yeah.
Mr. Clement. Our speaker is someone whose work sits at the intersection of youth development, employability, public health, and workforce. As a National Health Fellow himself, representing Ogoja, Cross River States, he has contributed to strengthening community systems and empowering young people through impactful development initiatives. He also serves as a support trainer with Jobberman Nigeria, where he has trained hundreds of participants across the country through building careers for workplace success program. His sessions focus on the practical skills employers consistently demand, including communication, emotional intelligence, teamwork, personal effectiveness, time management, creativity, critical thinking, and employability skills. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming Mr. Clement Mose, who will be speaking on standing out in today's job market, the skills employers are looking for beyond your degree. Mr. Clement, we are truly honored to have you with us this evening. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. Good evening, and thank you very much for that warm introduction. I want to believe others are hearing me. Please, if you're hearing me, let me get a thumbs up from participants. I've just been seeing the health techs and Echo now, which I believe is also part of the Dahel company. So I'd like others to also show me that they are listening. All right, thank you very much. So just to give you a very quick background of what we'll be doing today, the topic says beyond the degree, building the skills that employers value. And when I posted my flyer, on my status on WhatsApp, I captured it that beyond the degree, what does the labor market decree? So beyond the degree you have labored to get, what does the labor market that you hope to join decree that they value as the skills that are needed? because the truth is not everyone who is trained or certified in a higher institution would get a job. That is the truth. And the other question is, will you be among those that would have the employability skills that would, or will you be those that will be hoping that they are considered? Will you have the skills that they value and you would be an asset to a company? So this training, this section will simply talk about not just being how to prepare to be preferred, but also how to prepare to be preserved. Because it's one thing getting the job, it's one another thing staying employed. So let's quickly go into that. And okay, sorry, I think my slides are moving too fast. So for today, I've already introduced the topic. So just quickly look at the roadmap for our section. We'll be quickly talking about what employers really want in terms of the employer lens, looking at the angle of the employer, some interview mastery, some things you need to learn when going for interviews, and how you can be a master at it, such a way that when you go for an interview, one will be asked, the employer might ask himself, or the interviewer would be wondering, did you get a past question before coming for this interview? So some of the qualities that employers will screen for. And also, since we are talking about students, because the topic says beyond your degree, so we'll be looking at some of the skills that even while in school, all the academic journey wanted you to actually develop. So we'll be looking at your academic project, how it also equals to career goal. And then we'll be quickly dropping a 30, 60, 90 action plan, more like what we would say from now on. Then if we are joining the next job readiness conference, what are we going to be saying that we've done in the next 30, 60, or 90 days? And then we'll quickly be summarizing all what we'll be doing with what I would term your industrial well-being. And then we'll now go with our questions and answer section. All right, so if you are with me, let's start. And I would say, they ask the question, what do you think employers really want when they ask you to apply for a job? Now, there are four things that employers are quietly scoring when you submit your CV, or when you send your cover letter, or when you send a cold email. Now, as you already know, I am a trainer with Jobberman, and if you look down the screen, you'll see what I train persons on. We train persons on what we call the building careers for workplace success, otherwise called soft skills. And it's important we do this training because it's been discovered that while persons might have some of the technical skills that employers would need, they lack what we call soft skills, or people skills, or behavioral skill. So the first thing an employer would want to ask or find out is, can you do this job? In terms of, do you have the technical skills needed to do the job? Will you be a good data analyst? That is the technical skills. But beyond that, they would want to also know if you can work with people, because I can hardly think of a business that works without people either being co-workers or customers of the business. Even if you work remotely from the comfort of your home, you'll be working with the company, so you'll be interacting with people. You need to also have these skills. Some of them are communication skills, teamwork, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, personal effectiveness, time management, and so on and so forth. So we teach people when we go for our sections from Jobberman about these skills, because as you know, Jobberman is one of Nigeria's platform that connects employers and employees. So beyond just giving you a platform where we advertise jobs that you can apply for, we also train you and certify you on some of the skills that you would need to be able to qualify for these jobs, because we know what employers always want, and we've asked several times through various means, what do you need from a candidate? So the third thing that an employer would be looking out for is, will you fit in and stay? Remember I said that beyond being prepared to be preferred for the job, You need to be prepared to be preserved. So they want to know what are your values, what are your value system, because every serious organization have what we call a mission and a vision statement. And so they'll want to know if your values even aligns with theirs, and know if you are even here to stay long term, or you just want to add something to your CV, which is why they'll be asking you questions like, what are your plans in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself? And probably ask you scenario questions that would want to test your honesty, your integrity, your adaptability, professionalism, and all that. So we also need to know that the fourth thing that employers will look out for is your growth mindset. Do you see yourself growing in this sector, or do you just want to remain where you are? Every organization wants to grow. Every organization wants to have profits. And so if you as a person does not have a growth mindset, if you don't work towards your personal effectiveness, which is something we'll talk about during our training, it means that you're not even someone that is teachable. It means you don't have the ability to learn. You don't have the ability to adapt, to bring up ideas. Because if in 10 years' time, the current trend is no longer existing, companies will want to know that you as an employer, as an employee, will be able to bring in creative ideas that will keep that company in business. Creative ideas that would make them be able to meet up with the trend and not become obsolete. So the next thing we would want to also talk about is sorry, please can you hear me? I don't know if my screen has, okay. So before we talk about interview questions on how to prepare for interviews, I would like to ask you a scenario. Say you have a company today and you had two employers. All right, thank you very much for acknowledging that you can hear me. You have two employers, and I was very deliberate to use names from the same region so that people don't think I want to be tribalistic. So you have two persons, Chidi and Amara, applying for a role. And you have Chidi, who is a first class graduate, excellent grades, has the theoretical knowledge, but has no internship or work experience, and sadly cannot explain his ideas clearly in a mock interview. And on the other hand, you have Amara, who is a second class upper graduate that have done about two internships, one with Dahel, one with Echo now, and have a one student-led project, and is very confident and very articulate in communicating objectives and even under pressure. And so you see that this person have a solid but not outstanding academic record. Now, if you were an employer, who will you employ between candidate A and candidate B? And why would you want to employ one over the other? I would like to just see quick answers on the chat box. Who will you employ and why? I can't see responses. I want to be sure that I'm not talking to myself. The only response I'm seeing here is louder, ma. Please louder. So I've asked the question, between candidate A and B, who will you be employing if you're an employer, and why? You can just give me a quick answer, just who you are going to employ. We can move on. Candidate B, candidate B, candidate B, because she's experienced. Okay, because she's experienced. Thank you. But why not A? Since, I mean, the first class is very good, right? But said because Ekona says he has a proof of concept with his work history, right? So you see that employers are looking for experience. But I would surprise you that even two experienced persons might apply for a job, and someone who gets the job over the other, probably because he or she was more prepared for the interview. So there are a lot of things that are involved in getting a job beyond just being experienced, beyond expertise. An employer might be more concerned about character. Beyond competence, might want to see if you have the character to actually stay, and the values that he or she wants for that role. So let's quickly move on so we don't take. So I'm happy we actually understand what is important. So the first part of the next thing we'll talk about, we've talked about the employer lens. And we, as employers ourselves, we have actually selected the best candidate between two scenarios. So for interview mastery, let's talk about some of the common questions that would actually face or have heard in some of our interviews, and what really is being asked behind every of this question. Now, for example, you go for an interview and they ask you, tell me about yourself. I'm sure if I was to count the number of times I've been asked this question, both for an interview and for scholarship applications, I'll probably be having a mansion if I was to get paid for every time. So it's a common question. Now, sometimes you ask yourself, why are you asking me to tell you about myself when I've submitted a CV and a cover letter? So everything you want to know about me is there. But interviewers are looking for something beyond what you've written. Yes, they have been able to test your written communication skill, but they want to know that you are able to your verbal communication is also intact. How are you able to respond and articulate your answers? So the question you need to ask yourself is, can you communicate who you are clearly and relevantly in under 2 minutes without rumbling? Can you? Because imagine not being able to tell someone about yourself in under 2 minutes, and the company wants you to become an ambassador of the company. You are like their second representing them in any place you go to. So they want to be sure that you can even articulate answers that talk about your present, your past, your future. So when you're answering such a question, you'll be using you quickly talk about what you currently do quickly in terms of your strengths and your current role and expertise, and then link it with what your past experience were, how it relates to your current role, and obviously how what you see in the future, especially in the current organization you want to find yourself. So an example is you currently can say I'm a recent graduate in accounting and I'm currently strengthening my Excel and data analyst skills, learning with the health techs in Calabar, and I'm looking to grow in the finance role, like the role that I'm being interviewed for today. So that opener alone shows that it actually makes you um, present yourself as someone that knows what he or she is doing, that's able to clearly say his or her present, past, and future in just a sentence. Before you now go further to talk about specific areas where you've demonstrated your expertise in accounting, data analysis, and the rest. And the second question that you could be asked is, why should we hire you? And what they are really assessing is, do you understand the role very well to match your strengths? And can you back up with evidence and not just confidence? So it's beyond just sending a CV saying that you have done this, you've done that. So when they ask you these questions, they want to know if you have an opportunity, that if you are able to match up the role that you're applying for with your strength. So it means that even before you go for a job interview, before you apply for a job, you need to do what we call a SWOT analysis. SWOT, that is your strengths, your weakness, your opportunities, and threats. Because you need to know that, okay, the areas of strength you have actually makes you a better candidate, the best candidate for the role. And how you can answer that is to pick 2 or 3 of your strengths and map it directly to the job description, and then with confidence show proof of how you've done this in the past, and how you would even want to do more of this if given the opportunity in the current organization. An example would be that I bring some strong communication skill. In my last role, I was able to resolve 90% of the complaints that were sent to me on first contact, which fit directly with the role I'm applying for as the communication rep of the organization. This shows that this brings forth first your areas of strength, and also backs it up with evidence from your CV, obviously, which you have submitted. So it's important that you're able to articulate your response when asked a question like this. Now, the third question you could be asked is, what is your greatest weakness? I'm sure some of us would want to behave as Samson, would maybe respond by saying, I don't have a weakness. I tell you sincerely that would be a lie. That would be a lie. Even if you were to turn the table and be the interviewer, the person interviewing you would definitely have a weakness himself. So don't think that the question being asked by what is your greatest weakness is meant to disqualify you, but it is meant to see if you recognize first the areas where you're trying to perfect on, and if you have the growth mindset, if you are someone that is learning, because companies want someone that has the ability to learn continuously, continuous growth. So you should actually have, you should be able to have done a real self-awareness. That means assessing yourself to ask yourself, wait, what areas am I actually not so good at that I need to work on? It could be just simple, and a simple area as teamwork. It could be a simple area as lack of not being articulating your speech very well verbally, but you could do it in written form. And what are you doing about it to be able to work on it? So you should name a non-critical weakness. Now, when you're doing this, be very, very diplomatic as well. Don't call a weakness that actually takes you off the job in the first place. Don't go and tell them that, well, I want to work in the finance department, but I have a weakness of stealing. If I was the one, I don't think I would employ you, because that weakness is indeed a critical one. So you should be able to show specific actions that you've been doing to improve it, showing your growth mindset, because it actually matters more than perfection. No one is trying to employ a perfect human being, or someone that has a good mindset. So you should use, for example, you could say, I used to avoid public speaking. I have since joined a Toastmaster style group and now volunteer to present in team meetings. This shows that that was once a weakness, but you are doing something currently to work on it. I once had difficulties in some data analysis tools, because even as a graduate of accounting, but I'm currently taking an Excel course with the health technologies to see how I can improve on it. That shows that you are actually working on your weakness. Now, the fourth question you could be asked in interviews is, describe a challenge that you overcame. And so before going for an interview, you should be able to use what we call a STAR analysis. So STAR means the S for situation, T for task, A for action, and R for result. So you first of all, in that same sequence, what situation was it? What was the task? What action did you take? And what was the result? That is how you should explain the challenge you face. For example, during my final year project, that's a situation. Our data collection tool failed 2 weeks before deadline. That was the a task that was and then I was reassigned. I reassigned the survey digitally. That was the action you took after that challenge was faced, which was the task. So which probably resulted to being able to get data from students of our department at a very short period. That was the result. So clearly show this using a STAR analysis. This is the simplest way to focus on your action and measurable results, and not just what happened to you. Don't just say that, well, in my final year, I was the faculty president and they failed to pay dues and some boys came beat me. So don't make those kind of, no one wants to get it. I know interviews are more of storytelling, but you should not, you should be able to show measurable results from any action that you took. So quickly, we have just two questions, scenarios that I want us to look at. Now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I think this question is always being asked. And if I was to ask my friend, I don't know if my friend is on this call, Matthew, if I was to ask him this question, probably he would tell me he sees himself being married with his wife and chilling somewhere nice. Well, that is indeed a good response, but it has to be a response that tallies with the job role, with the company. They don't want to hear you saying that you see yourself starting a company that is going to be a rival to them, even if probably that is your intention, right? Even if that might be your projection, but they want to see that you are ambitious. You are ambitious, but you don't have goals that are ambiguous. Ambitious goals that are realistic, that are smart, measurable, and are very realistic. So you should be able to show goals that align with the future at this company, at the company you are applying. That is what you should be able to live. And then or will you leave the moment something better happens? So that is what they want to find out. That if, for example, you are employed and in the next 2 years you get a better role, will you want to just leave? even if that might be possible, because obviously we all want to get better positions. You need to articulate your response in a way that shows ambition that is tied to the growth within the company's own career path, and not just something that takes you out of the place you are, what you want to be employed. So you can say, for example, in 5 years, I would like to have grown from being just an associate in this company to becoming a specialist, where I can begin to mentor new team members, ideally with the vision and mission of our organization, and also increase even our current sales from what we currently do to 10 times more. So something that shows that you have thought about the company, you currently see where they are, you see what they're even projecting to go into, and then you fit yourself into their own growth plan. And then the sixth question I would like us to just quickly look at is, what do you want to do? Why do you want to work with us? Why do you want to work with us? So you need to have research about the company, and you don't just give generic answer. I've been unemployed for 2 years. I just finished school, so I'm looking for a place to just do internship before NYC. I think that was the first mistake I made after service. I was in Lagos at the time, and I was to go for the second batch of service. So I stayed just for about 2 months, and when you're a fresh graduate, you want to do something very quick. And so I saw a job advert. I was just passing by one day, and I saw a job advert at a secondary school, teachers needed. And me, I was still very hot then. I said, well, I can come and teach. And in my mind, I was any subject I can teach, very perfect. I entered there, I was interviewed, and they asked me the same question. So it was something very similar. And I even did a mock a trial. They took me to a classroom to teach English and mathematics. That was I think a primary 3 or 4 class, but I was not called. I was told this is about, I think this is 10 years now. Yes, 10 years, and I've not been called. I don't know if my number was changed or they lost their phone, but I've not been called for that job role. And I thought to myself, probably it's because I remember telling them that I was preparing to go for service by November, and that was around March, and they needed a full-time staff or probably a part-time. So that response alone showed them that I probably don't have future plans to stay with them. So you need to know that if they're actually looking for a part-time staff for just few days, few months, a contract staff, that is okay. That is okay. Well, so that they will know that you also have plans to move on with other things. So you should be able to make reference to things that are very specific to the values of the company. I want to work here because of a particular thing that you do that aligns with my career growth, my career plans. So there should be something that entices you to apply beyond the salary, beyond the fact that you'll be wearing tie and suit to the bank every day. There should be something that, so I have followed your recent expansion into digital payments, and I want to contribute my data skills to that specific growth area. So for example, you are someone that loves anything around green energy, and you want to apply to the Dahel group of companies. You could say, I want to join the EcoNow segment of your business because I followed how you've expanded into the green energy sector, and that is an area that I want to contribute to my skills into. That is how you can show that your value aligns with that of the company. So now let's quickly I always like to bring these scenarios so that I'll be sure that I'm not talking to myself. So now let's quickly the same thing now, A or B. Now, which answer do you think will get a call back between these two? When, for example, the candidate A was asked, what is your greatest weakness? And the person said, honestly, I don't really have any weakness. I'm just a fast learner and a hard worker. And there's no specific experience of how I have grown over the years. Now, candidate B says that, well, I used to struggle with public speaking, so I have joined a speaking club to work on it, and now I can lead presentations at team meetings. Now, who do you think among these two will get a call if, for example, you're advertising for a communication rep? Who would you think will get a call? Candidate B again. I don't know why I'm going for B these days. It seems all the answers are for B. All right, so let's quickly move on to what are the qualities and values that employers screen for. Now, this time around, we're talking about the character behind the CV that gets you kept, not just hired. Remember, I will keep saying this over and over. The essence of this section is not just to prepare you to be preferred as a candidate for employment, but to prepare you to be preserved. So we'll be talking about the character behind the CV that gets you kept and not just hired. Because imagine being employed and then the next 3 weeks you are being asked to leave because you lack you have the competence but you lack the character. Now, behind every hiring decision, the character that employers are reading for are first integrity. I think before I joined the call, because I joined with a different device trying to see if I can join with my laptop, I heard someone mentioning honesty as one of the things I think employers are looking at for. Of course, that is it. So when you are honest, even when no one is watching, that is what integrity is. When no one is watching, if you have an office to yourself in an establishment and there are no cameras in your office and you have a number of tasks to do, should they be confident that you'll be doing your job over doing a TikTok challenge? Would you be able to show integrity that even when no one is watching me and I have the opportunity of just changing figures in the field and no one would know, you were asked to submit supplies and you got to the field and what you were giving was more than what is required? Will you be confident that will you be able to show integrity by by returning the excess? Or will you just say, okay, whatever is left is mine because after all, no one sees me? Integrity is what would make you will keep you in the company, because sooner or later they'll find out. They'll find out there are ways that it might take a while. It might even take you up to managerial position before they find out. But when they find out, I'm sure the loss will be more than whatever you've gained. Then are you someone that can be relied on? Reliability is one of the things that they want to see as a character. Can they rely on you to show up when needed? Can you meet up deadlines and not just need to be chased? No one needs to be calling you and begging you, please send your report, send your report. Can they actually rely on you to do your job and do it well? Can you be accountable? Can you take responsibilities for your outcome? Or are you someone that would want to blame every other team members apart from yourself for the mistake that you've made and for the mistake of your team? Can you take accountability for your outcomes and not just making effort? Can you be professional in the job you do, punctual, well presented, respectful in your communication at every level? When we talk about effective communication at Jobberman, we mentioned that there are 7 C's that are very, very important when communicating. When you're talking to someone, when you're communicating, clear, concise, concrete, coherent, consistent, and the very last one among the 7 that we always talk about is cautious. Making when you are communicating, you should be cautious of the kind of words you say and how you say it. Be professional, especially when you are in a professional background. So beyond your degree, these are things that you might not have been taught in school. You need to know that you don't just talk anyhow because you are mates with the person. Even if you are a superior, you need to talk in a way that shows that you respect the other person. Now, behind every hiring decision, also there are 5 traits that sets you apart. I've mentioned what communication needs to be clear, respectful, and adjusted to the audience. That means concise and concrete. Teamwork, you need to be able to know how to collaborate without ego. Adaptability, initiative, and emotional intelligence. Now, these are things that we consider as what soft skills. Now, quickly, I would like to, because we are going to talk about it later, but I want to quickly differentiate that while we have soft skills, as I mentioned earlier, we have what hard skills, which are also technical skills. So the clear way to actually know the difference is that technical skills or hard skills are skills that you learn, that you can also teach someone, and the level of performance can be measured. The quality of your performance can be measured. Those are hard skills. Soft skills, on the other hand, are more of people skills, behavioral skills that you develop that are not necessarily taught in school, but you develop them over time and are necessary in relating with people. Communication, teamwork, credibility, initiative, and what emotional intelligence. You need to have these things. These are the very 5 key ones I would want to measure. And when you communicate, why it is very important that you communicate effectively, there's what we call the Albert Hariberan communication model that says that for every time you communicate, you are both using your verbal and non-verbal means of communication, even when you are only speaking. So people pay attention to just 7% of the words you say, 38% of how you said it, and 55% of your body movement while saying the things you say. Hello, I'm getting the feedback. All right, can I continue? Hello, can I continue, please? I'm getting the
Yes, sir,
feedback.
can you
Am I
mute your
able
mic?
to? All right, please. All right, thank you. So it is important that even when you are communicating with your colleagues or friends, or especially for persons that are now looking for jobs, you are just a graduate or you are already um, in the job market and you probably want to transit into a better role. You need to know that people pay attention to more of how you say the things and how your body works. So even when you go for interviews, the body language matters. You shouldn't be in an interview and you are looking down. That shows that you don't have self-confidence, and it shows that you're not even listening, because part of active listening means that you should have eye contact with the person speaking to you and you should be able to respond. Communication is not complete without feedback. So when when you are communicating, communication is effective when the message is delivered, received, and understood, and it becomes complete when feedback is given and received. So if I'm communicating to you and I don't get feedback, the communication is not complete. Same with when you are going for an interview. They want to be sure that you are able to communicate effectively. So while giving your response, or while listening to the questions being asked, show that you are listening, show that you are in the room and not absent-minded through your body language, the tone of your voice, and the words you say. Now, let's quickly move on. So I'm still getting the feedback. So the next thing I'd like to say is that what they don't teach you in school, I've already mentioned it, that first of all, you need to master your soft skills early. Master your soft skills early. And I had to quote someone because after I posted the flyer on my status, I coincidentally started seeing some responses on people's status, and I was if someone on my contact list called Golden Richard, he posted something that you should take the time to build and master soft skills as an undergraduate. It is not part of any academic curriculum, but it's exactly what you will face in the real world of work and life. Master your soft skills early. And further, he says, beyond intelligence, master empathy, communication, emotional intelligence, conflict management. You will need this every day, whether you end up as an employer or the employee. You need to grow your emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Simply the ability to be able to recognize, interpret, and understand your emotions and the emotions of others. So if, for example, you wake up in the morning and you see that you are very angry that day, and you were supposed to go for a business meeting, emotional intelligence will show that you should first of all know that you need to first calm your nerve down, because probably you will go to that meeting and transfer your aggression, and that will probably be the end of that meeting. Or you're going for an interview, you need to first of all probably make those 5 minutes breathe in, breathe out, just to calm your nerve so that you go for the interview. Or you being able to read the room and know that, okay, this person is not happy today, so I should be able to brighten up by my smiling or interacting in a way that will make the conversation even more engaging. And then two more things that matter will be that integrity is currency. Be trustworthy. Integrity is a scarce virtue, and it will sustain you in the marketplace. And remember that the end of school is not the end of knowledge. So keep reading and investing in yourself. And then build real relationships. We'll talk more about this later on, but you need to build real relationships, because have friends that are dependable, build solid contacts, because you need them for as long as you're living. Because people, whenever they can, will refer you to jobs, because referrals, most times, from what I've observed, are even more powerful than the CV. And someone referring you means the person is putting his own integrity at stake. That is what we should understand. If I refer you for a job, say I refer you to go to the health technology, I'm putting my own integrity as Clement Mose at stake, because that means I'm confident in the values, I'm confident in your abilities, I'm confident in both your competence and character. So, and I cannot do that if we don't have a real relationship. If I don't know you that well, I can't refer you for a job role. So some jobs you would even get will not be about the ones you applied for and prayed for, but it'll be about the ones you were referred for, and you actually showed that the person that referred you did not make a mistake. So quickly, let's move on to from classroom to career, your academic project. Now, some of us will be asking ourselves, why do we even need to write a project? I mean, I'm doing whatever course you probably finished from, and we are all writing a project. Why is it necessary that every department, regardless of the course, writes projects? Now, they are underused proof. These are actually the most underused proof of your employability, that shows that you are ready for the job market. There are soft skills that are meant to have developed there. You are meant to develop through project writing. But unfortunately, some of us contract people to write the project for us because we think it's stressful, right? I mean, why spend the entire 1 month night writing the project when you could just give someone at Unical main gate to just write it for you for 20,000 naira? Then when the time comes for you to go for a job interview and they ask you, please, can you write a report for us? Please, can you just send us an abstract of something? You begin to ask somebody, what's an abstract? And what's an abstract? So these are things that you should have learned, both hard skills and soft skills, even while in school. But it's not too late because, I mean, we are all here for what beyond degrees, what our employer is looking for. So that some of the parts of your academic project that I want us to dissect and see how we relate them. So I want to first of all make it very clear that this is not the regular Jobberman slide or trainings or that we usually use for our software trainings. Because of the theme of our section today, I had to make it very, very relatable in a way that undergraduates, recent graduates, persons that have degrees or academics can understand how they can build these skills even while in school. So, for example, you are asked questions like, what is your contribution to knowledge in your project? I remember that is something that is always in the project. What is your contribution to knowledge? And they want to see your new insights. What solution have you brought in? What are you bringing in new to the field of knowledge? That area that you are actually researching on. You are probably doing human anatomy. I think I saw a colleague here, Mr. John. So they'll be asking you those questions. People have been doing these things for thousands of years. So what are you contributing to knowledge? What method or value are you bringing in that is different? So it's not really about reinventing the wheel, but it's about showing that you can identify a gap and respond to it. That is what this part of your project was meant to build. Your ability to identify a problem and actually look for ways to solve it, no matter how little it is. That shows what you'll be able to do, or develop your problem solving skills, critical thinking, which are all soft skills, analytical ability, which are all soft skills. So it's not about your original thinking. It's not about your memorized knowledge, but what your original thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, research, analytical skills. So while you are putting it on your CV, you should be able to know that even while you are a recent graduate, you have demonstrated such skills during your projects, during your internship, during your research work, because in doing all these things, you were able to critically think, solve problems, research, analyze your results, and actually put it in different chapters, which is storytelling itself. Communicate it in a way that your external supervisor was able to read it and give you a good grade. That is what you should be able to do as an academic and someone that has a degree. So I expect that if you have a degree, you should have developed this. Now, your project headlines are already employability skills. For example, your abstract shows concise communication, because for some departments, I'll tell you not beyond a particular number of words. Now, imagine compressing a project of about 500 pages or so for some level of scholarship, and then putting it in just a maximum of a page of about 500 or about 120 or 150 or 200 words. That shows concise communication. When you practice this, it means that if you are given the opportunity to pitch your idea or pitch yourself, imagine you being in an elevator with a potential employer, someone that you have been looking for to meet, because you want to work in Dangote refineries, and you're able to see Dangote for 2 minutes in an elevator. How will you be able to concisely communicate your skills within that 2 minutes before you get to the next floor, where he will be able to tell you, take my card, call me later? That is what abstract is meant to develop in you, your concise communication. Problem statements, where you write, is supposed to help you critically think and ask yourself, what is actually the problem that exists in this field of knowledge that needs to be solved? Literature review enables you to do your research and analysis, analyze previous researches, and see the gap that you are meant to fill. Methodology shows you what your project planning, because for every task you'll be doing in companies is a project. For every task is a project. Take it as a project. So they want to know what are your steps in solving this problem? How will you solve this problem? We've not had followership on our social media platform. What will you do? What are your methods in ensuring that we're able to increase from 5 followers to 1,000 followers in the space of 1 month? So you'll be able to break it down in steps, in such a way that you have a clear plan on how you'll be able to do that. Methodology enables you to develop a project planning skill. Contribution to knowledge, as I've mentioned, shows you your value creation and innovation skill. And recommendation, which is what you put at the end of your research, what you recommend for either persons to do or for other researchers coming after you, your strategic thinking. What are things you'd want to recommend for that field of knowledge? Same as what you would be expected to do in any field you would be employed. Please, I want to get thumbs up to be sure that I'm not talking to myself. I know I have, okay. And I hope it's not been boring so far. I know that if given an opportunity, I can talk for as long as possible. So I will try to see that I wrap up quickly and don't take too much time. So when you turn your final project into an interview goal, simply means that use it as a star story. For example, what was the gap that your topic addressed? This is how we want us to practice it going forward. For those that have finished their research, go to your box where you kept your project. I know some of us have forgotten where we kept our project. Go and dust your own copy, the one you were given after you did your defense, and then keep it by the side and do the star. Use the star approach and ask yourself, if you were to talk about your project now, or even if you are preparing for your defense, ask yourself the question, what is the situation, the gap that your topic addressed? What task? That means, what did your project set out to prove? What was the action that you took, your methodology in plain language, and what was your result, which is clearly your contribution to knowledge? So just do that when you go back after this section. In just then, when you do this, for every role you want to apply for every role for every industry you hope to actually get into, do the same thing. What gap have you identified in the company? I've identified that maybe the company does not have a social media manager. What tasks do you think you can that needs to be done? What will be your action? And what is the result you hope to contribute? That is how you'd also prepare yourself before you go for the interview. The interview is for them to advertise a vacancy. That means there's a gap. I think that's what vacancy would mean then. There's a gap. So it therefore means that you are coming in to fill a gap that currently exists. So you use the star approach to tell them how you intend to fill that gap. And a clear example is, for example, saying that my final year project identified a gap in employability skills for undergraduates. So I designed a training on how undergraduate can get employability skills or internships even while schooling, to address this gap. And the key contributions were that internships increases your chances of getting a job after school, and so far we've had some of our undergraduates that did this internship getting job roles immediately after leaving school. So this is clearly how you can actually put it and see how it fits into a role as well that you're about to apply for. Remember, before you even send your CV or your cover letter, do the star approach and ask yourself, how do I fit into this job? What gap am I going to fill? There's a vacancy, as they say. how am I going to fill that vacant space? If you cannot answer that question, then I don't think there's even a point sending your document across. Then building a personal brand that employers trust is clearly tailoring your CV. Now, it is very, very wrong for you to, because I believe that we are actively searching for jobs every day. For me, for example, I think almost a week I send applications, even while I'm already in one, because we are always looking for opportunities, remote jobs, and the rest. And I think I got a question about this from someone proud to the class about how he can make his CV appealing to clients that or employers. It's simply by tailoring your CV to the job description. No one CV is able to fit all roles. You should not use the same CV for the next role. Don't say you are tired. Imagine you saying you are too tired to edit your CV. Your CV that is 2 pages, you can edit it to fit the job role. But you want to work for a company that would give you 30 pages of a report to write and give you a deadline of 3 days. So it clearly shows that you are probably not ready for that job role, because your CV, which is your own document, that you should be able to tailor in a way that shows your strength, because your CV is your marketing tool. You are marketing yourself to the person that is employing you. So if you're not able to market yourself in a way that makes you outstanding, then it means that you might probably not be able to do the same for that company to potential customers. So tailor your CV to the job role. So clearly what you should simply do is that keep your CV and keep the job description side by side. If they are asking for a specific skill in the job description, make sure that your CV captures or shows that you have the ability you have the competence for that skill. Because companies currently use keywords to actually sieve out CVs, which we'll talk about it, the ATS. So your CV should be tailored to the job role. You should also do what? You should also quantify your wins. Use numbers. Use numbers to show your wins. I joined the health technologies as a social media manager when we had 200 followers on Instagram. After 3 months of being a social media manager, I was able to increase the followership from 200 followers to about currently 3,000 followers. And so that alone shows what my ability to actually bring in value, my impact, what I'm going to bring to the table. Quantify your wins. For every time that you do something. So if you have not been doing that for the past series you've been or project you have been involved in, for any project you get involved in going forward, take a jotter or take your email or anything and document your contribution to that project in numbers, so that when you are trying to get your CV together, it's easier for you to just take it and put there. You went for an outreach that reached out to students in secondary schools. Put numbers. You went to 5 secondary schools, and each secondary school had an attendance of about 200. That is 1,000. That is impact. So that should be clearly stated on your CV, not just saying that I've joined campaigns, I've joined outreaches. That alone is not enough. Quantify your wins, not just because numbers would beat adjectives at any time. Now, you should be able to use clean digital presence. Now, some of us only see social media to stop at the doorstep of Facebook and WhatsApp. But beyond Facebook and WhatsApp, as a professional and one that is serious about job hunting, I want you to today go on LinkedIn and have your profile to be very, very okay, clean, and showing that you have the competence, you have the trajectory, you have the track record of whatever you do, if you are posting anything that has to do with your career goals, from now going forward, please prioritize LinkedIn as the first social media platform you'd want to post, even before Facebook. Personally, I even think that Facebook is where you have your friends and family. So if you're afraid of village people, avoid Facebook, post on LinkedIn. Village people are not on LinkedIn, right? Post on Facebook, so that when that potential person, because what you don't even know, that people even come to your profile sometimes, and by just searching, someone might be looking for a data analyst in your community and will simply search those keywords on LinkedIn, and your profile will pop up. The person goes through your profile, and sees that indeed you had that track record through internships, through volunteering. You have the track record, and it shows on your social media presence with pictures and everything, with good storyline, the way you're able to also even document it. You wrote it in a way that you presented it in such a way that using the STAR approach, what was the situation, what was the task, what was your action, and what was the result of your engagement? How did you contribute to the success of that project? That is clearly stated on your LinkedIn platform, and then that person can contact you and even tell you that please come and work for me. Sometimes you don't even need to be the one applying. Employers can come to you and ask for you to come and work for them. Same thing happens for those that are even looking for scholarships. People win scholarships by just LinkedIn comments. Someone will tell you, I have a scholarship worth 200 million. I'm looking for a PhD student that will come and join me by September. This is what month? July. By September. And by this night, you just made a comment explaining yourself. Remember we talked about what? Concise communication. You just talked about how you fit into that job role, and then you tell the person that you will go for that you would like an opportunity to do what? Talk about your expertise further. That person can come to your profile and see that you are really who you say you are, and you can get that offer. Now you need to also do what? Have one consistent story. Your CV, your LinkedIn, and your interview answer should all say the same story. So sometimes what we even do, this is a secret. I don't know if we should stop recording, but let me just say it anyway. What we sometimes even do is that when we are applying for a job, because I mentioned that you should do what? Tailor your CV. Someone will now ask me, what of my LinkedIn? You should also go there and edit it to fit in the job role. Because some companies even will ask you for your LinkedIn profile link. So you should not have on your LinkedIn that you are a carpenter, and then your CV shows you're applying for the role of a marketer, right? So you might say that they are all ending with Tata, but no, they would want to make sure that when they come on your profile, what your profile says matches your CV. So if it's necessary that, except if you put on your profile that you are both a carpenter and a marketer, that suffices. But if it does not, your LinkedIn profile should also say the same story as your CV. And when asked the same questions tell me about yourself, it should also be in line with what your CV and your online presence says. So are we together? Are we together, please? I hope you are enjoying the section so far. Okay. So like I mentioned, companies currently use what we call the ATS system to select. This slide is from Jobberman training. And this is a part that we sometimes emphasize on when we talk about the employability skills. So the ATS simply means what? Applicant tracking system. So please, if you are hearing me, I want you to put it on the chat box. ATS, applicant tracking system. Now the applicant tracking system is simply a software system that companies use. Because, for example, if I was to advertise for a job role, say I want you to apply as a personal assistant, believe you me, I would have more than 20. I can have more than 1,000 applicants for just 10 vacancies. So how do I filter these applicants to be sure that I'm able to first invite the best candidates for interview before I do the selections? Because beyond what your CV says, I would have the companies who want to do what? Have interviews for them to know that you are the better candidate. So what it means that for the first step is that all applications will be received, and the applications are then substantially that are qualified will not pass the ATS system. So what ATS does is that it picks out keywords from your CV that aligns with the job role. So if, for example, my advert says that I'm looking for a data analyst with knowledge in Excel, Power BI, I would be looking out for CVs that have these keywords: Power BI, Excel, data analysis, and the rest. So if you don't tailor your CV and you are using the same CV you applied for the job of a customer relationship manager, for the job of a data analyst, then the ATS system will not pick your CV among the ones that will move on to the next stage, because to the system you lack the qualifications required for the job role. You lack the expertise and competence. So it's necessary that you tailor your CV to meet the ATS system by using keywords. And also when also writing your CV, use what we call action words. For example, I developed, I increased, I led, I organized. Use words in your CV that shows actions. And the keywords, when you keep your CV side by side the job advert, your CV should be able to clearly replicate what the job advert says. Attention to detail was asked. Let it show that you have such skill. Computer literate, let it show on your CV as well, so that when you'll be able to do it when you are at the third stage where applications are scored and ranked, you at least get to the top rank. That's what the ATS does. It ranks all the CV in terms of their importance or how they relate to the job role based on the keywords. And then the highest ranked will now be selected. So the employer can say the first 20 among the 10,000 should be the one that should be called for interview, because the 20 will be interviewed and probably will select only one. So your point should be that you should be among the highest ranked that will be initially selected for interview, so that during the interview, you will now go there. Because believe you, not even the best CVs, sometimes the highest ranked CVs sometimes get the job. Because as I've mentioned, beyond the CV you even submit, the interview too would also go further to test if you have the skills that aligns with what you said on your CV and your cover letter. So even if you were ranked the second, which you probably won't even know, right? Because you'll all be invited for the interview, you can still beat the person that was ranked first by the ATS, because the interview stage is also an opportunity for you to demonstrate the skills that employers are looking out for. All right, so some of the skills, some of the ways to, I just had to just put only on this slide, some of how you can prepare your CV for ATS. This is the recommendations we give by Jobberman, which you can just quickly screenshot, is to see that you tailor your CV to every job description, optimize it for ATS search and ranking by matching the resume keywords to your job description. Use both long form and acronym version of keywords. So for example, if you have a Bachelor of Science, probably if it's actually a very important criterion for me as an employer, I will ensure that I put it in my ATS system. So to be sure that you don't miss out, because maybe I might ask the ATS to only pick out BSc, but you wrote Bachelor of Science. So you would, to be on the safe side, would want to use Bachelor of Science in bracket BSc, so that even if I was to pick BSc as the keyword, you would also be selected. So if you want to use acronym, use both the long form and the acronym version. But to be on the safer side, the most preferred is the long form. But if you want to add acronym, it should also include the long form as well. And then use very common font styles. You're not going for a design competition, so use common font styles. You don't need to design your CV so much. Use common font styles and use headings like work experience, because if you use a heading like where I have been, the ATS might not pick that as a keyword. Rather, it will be looking for what work experience to see if your work experience section of your CV aligns with the job role. So you should be able to use very common headings like work experience, and avoid submitting your CV as a PDF unless you were told specifically to submit that way, because some ATS might not pick some of those keywords because PDF is what portable document format. Sometimes it comes as just a picture, so some of the words on that page might not be readable to the ATS system. And even some design softwares can also come as pictures that might not be readable to the ATS. So preferably, to be on the safe side, use a Word document to create your CV. And if necessary, and if asked to submit in the PDF format, you save as a PDF and then you submit your application. All right, so quickly, I think we're almost done. This one should be just something that we just screenshot. I don't need to talk about it. Your 30, 60-day action plan. It can vary from any according to what you want to do, but this is something I want us to stick to as participants of this training, and we probably would share it on our platform, on our WhatsApp platform. I think the health tech will share the link of our platform so you could join if you have not joined, and then you would now send us the review, let's know if you can actually track your progress. For 30 days, you'll be able to audit your skill gap and rebuild your CV, draft it and tell yourself in a way, and then be able to draft an answer to tell me about yourself in 30 days. 1 month is enough time to do that. In the next 2 months, you'll be able to have completed one certification that is important for the job you want to go for. That if you want to go for data analyst course or data analyst role, do courses that are in line with that. Get certifications, free ones, paid ones, but get certified for that job role. Start a small portfolio project. And that's an easy way for you to be employed. For example, you want to work as, say, a graphic designer. Have a portfolio project where you do designs for persons. You can even tell persons, just give me your design work, let me do for almost free, right? So that you can have a portfolio, build your portfolio project, so that becomes an evidence for that kind of a role. If you are going for such a role or want to see your portfolio, so have a project that shows that you have the ability to do these designs and have the competence. Grow your network too within the next 60 days. Go on LinkedIn, search for persons that are in the career path that you want to go into, and connect with them, engage with them. Be deliberate about the persons you connect with online for the next 60 days. And in the next 3 months, I expect that you should be able to have applied some of these things we talked about to targeted roles. Begin to apply them, because it's not about just talking. You need to take action. And as they always say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You will never get the job you don't apply for, except you are referred for those jobs. Same with scholarships, if in case you are one that wants to move further to that level. Because as we talk about employers, your employer can also be your potential supervisor that will give you funding. Because being a student is of course, an occupation, as we would always fill it on our forms. So in the next 90 days, begin to make applications. Begin to practice mock interviews. There are websites that does mock interviews that you can practice. Call a friend and do interviews. We could actually have some sessions, if possible, by Dahel, where we interview you, we drill you on some of the questions that you might be asked when you go for that interview, and then begin to track and refine, even when you are rejected. Refine your rejections. For those that apply for scholarships, we call it love letter. I've received many love letters, as many as possible. Sometimes if I see, the moment you see the heading of an email, you will know if you have been rejected. It starts in a very polite way. Thank you for applying for the position. However, you should just know that by the moment you just begin to say however, just know that that is possibly a rejection, right? But you do what? Ask yourself, why was I rejected? And do what? Go on. So as I always tell people, NO is not, which is no, does not really necessarily mean that you are not good enough. It could simply mean the next opportunity, NO. So move on to the next opportunity and keep being better at what you do. Now, the very final part of our segment. Sorry, I hope, please, how much time do I have left so that I don't spend too much time here? The very final part of our segment is, okay, this is 8:30. I will need to finish in the next 15 minutes so we can have 15 minutes for questions and answers. The final part of our segment is what I call the industrial well-being. Now, we all want to apply for jobs in different industries. So you should ask yourself the question, how ready am I for this industry? Or even when if you're already employed, ask yourself, what is my industrial well-being? That is the overall state of your productivity quotient in that particular industry. That is how I define it. So some of the things you'll be hearing here are things that are coined from my own thinking and what I actually feel I should share with people. So your personal, how do you begin to now even grade yourself in your industry? You can take a screenshot about these things. You ask yourself first, what are your 2 greatest achievements? As a data analyst, what are your 2 greatest achievements or 2 greatest projects? What are the two things that you want to achieve and why in that industry? What are the two things that you are very good at? That means your skills, the two skills that you are very good at. What are the two areas that you want to improve on? And what is the time frame? I want to, I'm a data analyst. I'm very good at Power BI and Excel, but I don't have the knowledge of these other two skills that is necessary in my career goal, in the role I want to apply for. I don't have the certification. Those are the two things, but I want to get it in the next 6 months. That is the time frame. That is how you begin to grade yourself and ask yourself, what if you are going to be very productive in that industry, if given that employment right now? And then what are the two areas or things that you are afraid of failing in? And these are things that I believe if you actually tell yourself the truth and think about it, you'll be able to grade your industrial well-being and know your productivity quotient. Now, there's a concept I call the tax concept, and believe some persons here would already know me for this. So I think I should write the book at this point about this, because I mean, I always talk about it anywhere I have the opportunity. The tax concept. So this is what I consider as the ways you can promote your industrial well-being. I call it the concept of tax, TASK. Please pardon me for the next few minutes that I have left. You'll be hearing a lot of acronyms. I use acronyms to explain my message better. So be prepared to hear a lot of acronyms. So we have the tax, the T for time, A for association, S for sex, and K for knowledge. Now remember what we're talking about was beyond your degree, what employers are looking at for. So these are things that are also considered soft skills that you need to also master. T for time, A for association, S for sex, and K for knowledge. Now T for time. When we talk about time, some of us use a video software we call VLC. So I always say that time is VLC. Time is valuable because if I employ you, I pay you. If I employ you as a sales girl in my boutique and you stay there for 30 days, even if no one comes to buy a single cloth, I will still pay you because I'm paying for your time. Time is valuable. And so companies are also looking for persons that value time and know that the time in the company is valuable and will not come to the company and use their time for things that are not going to help the company grow. Do you consider time to be valuable? Ask yourself. Time too is also limited. We all have 24 hours. And so that is why we have things like deadlines, because if time is not limited, then we can do anything at any time. So you should know that you have limited time and you should be able to consciously know how to use the time at your disposal to achieve the goals that you have to achieve as a person or for your company. And then time is what I consider conformative. That means you can adjust time the way you want. You can spend time doing whatever you want. Time will not stop because time believes you need to do something seriously. No. If you want to spend the time doing things that are not serious, the time will continue. But if you want to adjust time and control time to do the things that conforms to your goal, then it will obey you as well. So you should need to have this mindset that time is what, like I mentioned, time is VLC. So that brings us to I want to talk about just two of the soft skills that I think are very important for us to master: time management and personal effectiveness. So let's talk about time management. Since we're talking about the first T of the concept of industrial well-being, tax, remember, which is what? Time. Personal time management is what? The process of planning and controlling how much time you spend on specific activities that matches your priority. That means working smarter and not just harder. So companies will want to employ you and they expect that you should be able to manage your time to achieve organizational goals. That is why they will give you deadlines and ensure that you are able to meet that. Remember, we talked about can you be reliable? Can they rely on you to meet up deadlines? If you lack time management as a soft skill, you will not be able to do that. Which is also the reason why some of us will know that you get a job will be sent to you on WhatsApp today. The deadline is next week Tuesday, and you are unable to manage your time to be sure that you apply before the deadline. There's 2 days after the deadline, you remember that, oh, someone sent me a job and I did not apply. Now imagine the person asking you, did you apply for that job? I want to talk to the person on your behalf. You say, sorry, I forgot. Imagine how the person will feel. The person will not even want to refer you going forward because you are not reliable. You don't have the soft skill of time management. Now, how do you ensure that you're able to manage your time? you do what we call the PPDR. So if you don't remember, you just say P squared doctor, PPDR. You need to plan, prioritize, delegate, and review. That means plan what you need to do and that needs to be done and when. You need to prioritize by ranking your tasks in terms of urgency and importance. Delegate tasks that are not necessarily meant to be done by you. And then review your progress so far and see how you can plan again for the next phase of execution. Then while you do this, there are tools that you need to also master. I'll quickly just mention them on your own. You just go and do the research. We have what we call the time management matrix or the Eisenhower matrix that actually schedule tasks in terms of urgency and importance. Then we have other tools that we call the 80-20 rule, which is the Pareto principle. We have the Pomodoro technique, and we have the 2 minutes rule. And the 80-20 rule simply says that sometimes if you have 10 things to do in a day, you discover that if you do just 2 things out of the 10, that 2 will probably give you more results or give you more satisfaction than the 8 other things put together. Simply put, 20% of your effort will give you 80% of your result. So it means that you should focus on the 20% that if you do that 20% of your tasks, it will give you 20%, 80% of the result you want to achieve as a person or for the organization, rather than focusing on the 80% tasks that will give you 20% result. Same with the Pomodoro technique that says that if you are doing a task and you get tired, give yourself timelines of about maybe doing it for 25 minutes, give yourself a break of about 5 minutes, and then come to the task again. Just give yourself breaks at intervals so that you don't get fatigued or stressed out, but you keep doing the task. Then the 2-minute rule simply states that if a task can be done under 2 minutes, do it at that moment. Don't say I will do it later. Don't say I will do it later. All right, I'm just trying to rush because of time. I don't want to be caught as a victim of not being able to manage time when I'm talking about time management, right? So the ways you can actually build a simple daily system is by repeating this reading. You plan a night before, target the hardest tasks first, match similar work together, and review and reflect, even while you are doing a job, right? Before you already have, probably you have a task that was given in the office. Plan a night before that when I go to the office, this is what I'm going to start with first. I will start by submitting that report because my organ needs the report before 12. I'll start by giving that report. And then every other task that are similar, probably they're all under budgeting. I'll put them together and do them once. And then when I'm done, before I leave for the day, I'll review all what I've done for that day and see if there's anything left so that I can now know that will be the first thing I will do the next day. That enables you to be more efficient in the things you actually do. All right, quickly. The next thing we'll talk about is what is personal effectiveness. So we've talked about time management, and the personal effectiveness simply means your ability to be able to manage your time, your energy, and your attention to produce meaningful results. So I simply say that your ability to manage your TEA wisely, your time, energy, and attention wisely to achieve meaningful results is your personal effectiveness. Now, if you're not someone that is personally effective, which will show even on your CV as you apply for jobs, the employers will not want to actually employ you. Now, it's not simply about being busy. I'm not saying you should go and fill your CV with 5,000 job roles. No, it's about what you were able to do. How efficient were you in those roles? So it's not about quantity, but about what? Quality. How you were able to produce meaningful results, which is why you need to tailor your CV at every point, because it must be tailored to the role we are asking for. We don't need things that are not relevant to that job role. Meaningful results. How were you able to use the time 2 years in Dahel? How were you able to use that time, the energy that Dahel has given you, the resources available to you in Dahel Techies to be able to produce meaningful results? That is what we want to know when applying to the next company. And how can you improve this? Simply by what I call the SSCE, by self-awareness, by setting smart goals, by your continuous improvement, and by efficiently using your energy. Don't waste time on things that are not going to help you grow in your business. Spend the most of your time building yourself for the job or for the role you want to get in the next application you are going for. Spend most of your time on that thing. So even if you can give yourself the task that for every day, I will make sure that I spend 30 minutes on the task that would help me develop myself and become better to become a data analyst. I tell you the truth, if you spend 30 minutes to 1 hour every day, imagine doing that for the next 1 year. I mean, you will be an expert in any field you want to learn. Doing that for 1 year straight and then going to apply for a job, you become better because you have more certifications, more character, more competence, more confidence for that job role. So use your time and energy for what is going to help you in the next job application. And then why does it really matter? It matters because being productive is not about doing more. It's about doing the right things well with the energy and focus they deserve. Remember, we said this section is not only about preparing you to be preferred, but it's also about what? Preparing you to be preserved. Now, if I employ you and I discover that you're not personally effective, in the next 2 months, I can terminate your contract because I will not have you coming to waste my time, waste my resources, waste the energy, waste everything that I have, and you're not giving me result. So, and it's not about activity, it's about what? Result. Activity is not result. So you should be able to know that energy and not just time. Your best hours matters the most. And so you should be able to match your hard tasks to the peak of your focus windows. Your outcomes should be more important than your activity. What your results are is more important than activity because effectiveness is measured by your results and not about the number of hours you spent in the office. It's about the results you gave. And then your clarity should be able to should drive your priority. So be able to have clear goals and decisions about what you spend your time most on, and not just having goals that are not smart, that are not specific or measurable. Now okay, A is association. I will just quickly talk about this. A is association, and under association I have what we call the MTN, mentorship, team, and network. Have a mentor in the sector or field that you want to go into. Imagine me being a very good data analyst, and I'm your mentor, and you want to be a data analyst, and I'm able to transfer all the values that I have to you as a mentee. That means I have kept you at a standard where you become an asset in the industry. In a way that anybody that employs you would be lucky to have you as part of their team because I'm your mentor. That is the importance of having a mentor that you can learn from, that is able to transfer this knowledge and skills to you. Have a team. Together everyone achieves more. That is what that acronym would simply mean. So have a team of persons, young persons that are all applicants, so that will be having accountability, that would improve yourself. Iron sharpened iron. You want to all be the graphic designers. Have a team that you can send your design to and ask the person how you see this design. How is this design? The person can tell you the truth, correct yourselves, make the mistake amongst your peers before you make it in front of the interviewer. Have a network of persons because, as I mentioned, your network is your net worth. And your referrals go even further than your CV most times. So I would want to move on to the S. S means sets. And there are 3 sets you need to have as a person: mindset, skill set, and tool set. Your mindset simply means your spice, your sense of reason, your perception, your innovation, your creativity, and your expectation. You cannot solve the problem that you created. Or let me put simply say, Albert Einstein will simply say that the significant problems that we face cannot be solved at the same level we were when we created them. You cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created that problem. So when you go in front of an interviewer, they want to know your sense of reason. They want to know if you're someone that is creative enough to bring in innovative ideas to this company. So your mindset is important. So have a very positive mindset, even as an employee or one that is looking for an opportunity. And then skill set means that what can you do? I talked about soft skills and hard skills. Develop the hard skills necessary for your job role that you're applying for. Develop the hard skills necessary for that job role. But remember to also develop soft skills, because hard skills can get you the job, but soft skills will ensure that you keep the job, because you'll be relating with people while working. You should not be heard of that you got the job, but you were sacked because you lacked how to work. You cannot work with your team. You are a very good graphic designer, but you don't have team work spirit, so you were sacked for that reason. That would be a shame. That you have the technical skill, but you lack the soft skills that would help you keep that job. So ask yourself the question, what are the skill sets I need to develop? I need to build beyond the degree I have, beyond the certificate you have. What are the skill sets necessary for the job role? The technical skills and the soft skills I need to develop, because you tell yourself the truth through self-awareness that I have this gap and I need to fill that gap from the skill set. Now, the next is what T is, the tool set. That is the tools that you need to have. And I've mentioned a lot of different websites that you can actually have. And I like the last one very well. It's under the tech hubs that help consultants and techies. That is, if you're in Calabar, make sure you go there and you'll be able to learn new skills that will enable you stand out in the job market. These are places you can learn, get certified, learn skills, fine-tune yourselves, fail while looking for the job, not when you have gotten the job. Learn the skills and develop yourself. Get the tools. You need to learn Excel, for example. Learn it now. You need to know how to use Microsoft Word. Learn it now. You need to know how to use even a Google form, a Google sheet, how to use maybe a tax management system like Trello. Learn those things now, because companies will probably, that might be the difference between you and an applicant. That is something that might keep you different from the applicant. Now, you know to also do what? Develop your portfolio using some of these websites. These are all tool sets that you need to have as a person, that you need to know how to use, and how you need to also put yourself out there using these different tools. And then tax management, I've talked about tax management tools that you can also have. You can have all these things ready. If you are going for, you have your resume ready, cover letter, code emails. Sometimes you don't even need to wait for a job vacancy. Go on LinkedIn, look for someone that is working in the company you want to work to. Send him an email. So I like the work you are doing in your company, and just pitch yourself and tell them that if there's a vacancy, you will be happy to be contacted. That is a cold email. Do that, and that becomes probably the only reason why you might be selected over the applicant that was waiting for the job advert to be posted. Then the K is because remember we're talking about what the concept of task, TASK. T for time, A for association, S for set, and the K is for knowledge. Now, under knowledge, ask yourself the question sincerely right now: what is my knowledge gap in the industry I want to apply for? That is the only way you will know the skills you need to build. What are my weaknesses and what are my strengths? What skills do I really know very well? Or what skills do I don't have the competence in that I need to develop before the next job application? Because you might lie on your CV, but if you are given the task to do, probably during the interview, you will disgrace yourself. So don't go and say you know Excel and probably you have the weakness in that area. Develop it now that you know that's a weakness, and then know the current trends in your industry. AI is taking the place right now. So it means that companies with time will begin to look for persons that know AI prompting. So if that is a trend in your company, begin to learn how to prompt with AI, so that when you are applying for the next job role, that might be the only thing that will make you outstanding over the next applicant, because you know the current trend in your industry and you have used it to your own advantage. Are we together, please? All right, so I'm ending that right now. So you need to, so knowing that knowledge means that you are trying to leverage on your edge. So you can, and the truth is because you can never act beyond what you believe, and you cannot believe beyond what you know. That means the foundation of every action is your knowledge. It's your knowledge. So if I give you a task and you don't know how to do it, you will never know how to do it. You will not do it, because the foundation of every knowledge, even if you have the belief, you have to do what? Have the knowledge. So it simply means that you can't actually act beyond your belief, and you cannot believe beyond your knowledge. So work on what? Work on your knowledge. And this is a quote from Dr. Mensa Otabio. So work on your edge. Leverage on what makes you outstanding. And what is your edge? So when you split the word knowledge means what? Know how to leverage your edge. Leveraging your edge means what? Knowledge. Know how to leverage your edge. And what is the word edge? E-D-G-E. The word edge simply means your experiences for E, your distinguishing factor for D, your gaps for G, and your elevation strategy for E. Before you apply, know what makes you different from the other applicant. What is your edge? What makes you outstanding? What are your experiences? Your experience means that the value you've built over time, which means gathered through volunteering, apprenticeship, self-study, and training. What is your distinguishing factor? What makes you different from the other applicants? What makes you unique? What is your areas of strength? That is your D. What are the gaps that you need to work on? That is your weakness that you need to work on, that you are currently working on as you look for the job. Then what is your elevation strategy? What are your plans for growth? I simply call this SAPA. I mean, what is how do you intend to sharpen your distinguishing factor, address the gaps you have, package your experience, and advance your position by applying for the next job role? So when you want to know your edge, ask yourself these four things: your E, your D, your G, and your E again. Your experience, your distinguishing factor or factors, your gaps, and your elevation strategy. That tells you if you are ready to become the preferred candidate for the next job role. So I think, and then this is a clear example of what you can just quickly screenshot this and see how it works in a very clear. Let me use the example of a computer science graduate. The person's experience is that he can develop web applications. The distinguishing factor is that he has been able to gather professional certifications that makes him different from his colleagues that are just graduates as well. And then the gap is that he lacks the ability to showcase this experience. That means he lacks communication skills. So he lacks the opportunity to pitch his ideas, and he lacks interpersonal skills. That means he's working on those gaps. And then his elevation strategy is that he wants to attend the next job readiness conference, which is attending right now. Yeah, I used the career crafts workshop because this was what we used the slide for. So I want to attend the next job readiness conference so that he can know what he needs to build and become better. So do the same thing for yourself for the role you want to do. What is your experience, your distinguishing factor, your gap, and your elevation strategy? All right. So I think I will just quickly go through this quickly. So the ABC of maintaining a healthy industrial well-being is that A, be ambitious, not ambiguous. B, have a backup plan, but don't make it a burden. So you should know that if in case you apply for this job role, it does not work, this is what I'm going to do while waiting for the next one. Be consistent in the skill you are developing, but don't be complacent. Don't think that that skill you have is enough to give you that job. Follow the trend. Don't stop where you are. Keep learning and continue. Then stay determined, not distracted. Even when you get the no, continue to be determined. Be enthusiastic and not extravagant. Don't spend too much time on just one thing when you can actually learn multiple things that would help you become outstanding. Anticipate failure, but don't stay fallen. Success is the ability to move from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. That is what you should know. So even when you are told no in the first job role, keep applying and keep getting better. Grow daily, don't grow mainly. Cultivate the habit of learning one new thing daily and not complain of one old thing dearly. Now, quickly, potential demands that you never settle for what you have accomplished, even if you are already good in your industry. In order to realize your full potential, you must never be satisfied with your last accomplishment. So get better at what you do, build your skills, and develop yourself. So you ask yourself the question, how potent is your potential? How potent is your potential? Now, even if you are preparing yourself to be preferred, remember that the aim is to look for what employers value, the skills they value. So position yourself to be valuable rather than being indispensable. Because if, for example, you are employed and that company falls today, what is your fate? Are you valuable enough to get a job in the next few weeks, or you are just trying to see how you don't get sacked? So make yourself valuable such a way that no matter where you are, you will be able to get a job role. Now, nothing goes for nothing. Be a person of value. That means you must invest a valuable resource, which is your time. Build a valuable network, which is your association. Maintain a valuable profile, which is your set, your mindset, your skill set, and your tool set. And sustain a valuable self, which is your knowledge. But while you do all these things, while we talk about the tax, your time, association, sets, and knowledge, remember and know this very well. This is my favorite quote as a person. Not every task is for you. Not every job is for you. Not every position is for you. You must not apply for every job role. Know when to apply. Know when it's your time to apply for it. Know the kind of mentors and association you keep. Know the kind of skills you need to learn. You must not learn every skill. You must not be proficient in all the tools. Know also the kind of knowledge you need to acquire, because you should be able to differentiate between your passion and what you need to pass on. I take it again. Not every task is for you. You need to be able to differentiate between your passion and what you need to pass on. So if you don't fit in that job role, no need applying. Because if you apply, you might get frustrated just the first week of starting that job. And then I think this is the final take home. Effectiveness means doing the right things, not simply doing more. Use time management matrix and other tools to know what really deserves your time so that you can improve your personal effectiveness. And a personal routine as daily routine as time management and the 2 minutes rule and other tools I've mentioned can help you build lasting consistency. So another final quote for me, I know I've talked about so many quotes. What you focus on determines what you achieve. If you focus on the things that don't matter, the results you get won't matter either. So ask yourself, what skills am I focusing on building that will make me outstanding in the job market? Thank you very much. And please do well to connect with me on all platforms. Just use the link and you'll see the link to every other platform of mine. I hope you enjoyed the section, and I think this is the time where we would now call for questions, answers, and contributions. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Clement. That was honestly very practical and thought-provoking. Thank you so much for this session. One thing that stood out for me personally is that my key takeaway is know that your degree might open the doors for you, but it is your skills that will definitely keep you inside. Good. So I'm sure many of us are already thinking how we've been preparing for our careers and our career path. We will now move on to the question and answer session. If you have any questions, kindly type it in the chat box or raise your virtual hand, and I'll call your name and you can then say your questions. Please keep your questions brief and directly related to tonight's discussion so that we can accommodate as many participants as possible. Thank you. So let's begin, please. Okay, I can see in the chat box that some persons have raised concerns about not fully participating in the conference. Please note that the conference is being currently recorded, and after the session, it will be shared on the WhatsApp group. If you have any questions, kindly just raise up your hand and I'll call you upon you and you can ask your questions so that Mr. Clement can address them. Or if you prefer to type it in the chat box, please go ahead. Okay, the link to the WhatsApp platform would be posted. Let me just try to get it and post it on here.
All right, quickly, let me just add something. I always use opportunity to always market Jobberman, since I currently work with them. So for persons that would want to take some of the courses, some of the things we've talked about, soft skills training and get certified, you can just go to on our website and take as many courses as you want. A lot of them are for free, and just take them and get certified. So we'll be posting some of these things on our WhatsApp platform. So do well to join when the link is dropped, so you get some of this value even beyond today's conference. Thank you. Okay, I think I'm seeing a question from someone, and about how do one work on his CV. And I remember mentioning that when you are applying with your CV, you should try to tailor your CV to every job role and ensure that, I don't know if I can quickly just share that slide. Let me, and ensure that the CV actually captures everything in the job description, because companies currently use what we call the applicant tracking system that filters CV based on the relevance and how they actually match the job description. So when you're telling your CV, just because I think I had too many slides, and so I couldn't even add a sample CV for us to have um, practical experience. But I believe that we'll have more of these sections, and the WhatsApp platform gives us the opportunity of even sharing more tips on, or even reviewing CVs if possible for persons. So your CV, the rule is just keep your CV side by side the job role, and assess the CV to ensure that every job description that is asked, it's on your CV. So for example, if I am asking for say a data analyst, I expect that your CV should be able to have words like Excel, Microsoft BI, that data analysis, attention to detail. It should show your ability to carry out data collection, for example, and the rest. So that when your CV is being tracked using the ATS system, it should be able to. All right, this is the slide I was looking for. You should be able to pick your CV amongst others. So you should carefully tailor your CV to the job description every time you apply. So don't use one CV for every job application. So you optimize it so that it can match the keywords to your job description. Now, good enough, some CV creation websites are able to even help you do this, and we'll share a number of them on the group chat. I'm trying to make sure that everybody joins that group chat. That is why I'm referring everything to that at the end. So you see that there's job sites. There are actually tools that you can use to ensure that you create a CV. You just put in your details and it creates a CV to be ATS compliant. But when you use some of the tools and guidelines tips given here, you'll be able to have a CV that keeps you at the edge. So I don't know if maybe, if I'm permitted, if there's another question that relates to this, I could probably stop sharing and quickly share a few slides from what we use for our Jobberman training that specifically talks about tips on how to create a CV and samples. But as I mentioned, we can always share this on our platform if you join, and we'll follow up on that. But these tips I've mentioned here would help you prepare your CV. And remember, if the information, especially personal information, is not required on your CV, there's no point putting it there. your date of birth, your gender, how old you are, even your address, specifically can just be shortened to the states and location, except if it's necessary that you put the full address, the home address, number, this and that. Except sometimes people just specifically just put the city and the country, especially for some remote jobs that you are working with foreign clients. You just put Lagos, Nigeria, and then they are more particular about your portfolio, your experience, and the rest. And remember, a professional CV is different from an academic CV, right? Though a bit similar, but they're quite different due to the headings and what you need to project more. Professional CV should talk more about your experience professionally, how you have contributed in the professional space. Academic CV should talk about more about your research work and work that relates to an academic setting like teaching and the rest. So you should know which one are you using for which kind of application. All right. So, okay, someone is asking if we could share the slide. I was told that the recording will be available, and I'm sure the recording will have every part of the slide. And also, so I want you to have the recording so that you also listen to my sweet voice in your head. But the slide don't have my voice. So have the recording so that while you see the slide, you listen to whatever I said accompanying those slides. Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other question.
Echo now, please go on.
All right. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Clement. I sorry I won't be able to put that put on my video. I'm a bit under the weather, but man, I couldn't miss this for any reason, man. So well done for your insight and sharing all of your wonderful knowledge and words of information with us. I I was just looking at the elevate your edge part of the slide and I couldn't. I was just laughing. So uh, a whole lot have been said. Mine is not a question, but more of a contribution. No, we say these things often and we emphasize more on skills and CV thing, but the take home for me and a little bit of area I would love to emphasize is the part you said this conference is not just to make us be the most preferred candidate, the most preferred person in the workspace, but um the person that will be preserved or that should be preserved. I think that was more of the take home for me because you notice now that it is even easier to learn some of these rules. Like, people are calling for application almost every day. But then when they are given this opportunity, 2 3 months you begin to see them jump into maybe another role, jump into another company because they don't really have the skill to keep them. But conference like this re-emphasizes again on the need to know that beyond looking for some of these opportunities, you should also have the skills that should keep you on the road. Because that is one major problem we are experiencing today, especially among the young people, young Nigerians. So the message was well passed, and I will say clearly that the aim of the conference have been achieved. I was really reflecting if the job readiness conference should continue to be a monthly thing. But with today's session, I just would not even want to think if it should still be a consideration thing. It's something we'll continue to have more and more conversation because I know you've said something about knowledge. We need to leverage on our age. So we need a conference. We need conferences like this so that we'll continue to leverage on informations that will make us better. So I'm not doing the work for the moderator. She will have proper appreciation for you. But this is just my contribution and thanking everyone for joining the call. And also you very specially. So for the question you asked me about 5 years from now, I think I'll answer it later, not on this call.
Thank you so much for your contribution, Mr. Matthew. Mr. Clement, please, we have one more question, I believe. It goes, what soft skills can someone take for a person who is working in a financial institute? If you have any recommendations for soft skills that they
Yeah.
can take. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Whoever asked that question. So, soft skills, as I mentioned, there are a number of skills, not just one. It's something you develop and you practice on. On Jobberman, we have what we call the soft skill training, and it's currently being renamed the Building Careers for Workplace Success course. So, there are a number of skills that I believe someone in that sector should be able to develop. Number one would be integrity, for example. You should be. I don't think anyone want to develop, want to employ someone in the financial sector that doesn't have integrity, right? That is unable to even teamwork is a skill you need to be able to work with. Every company, I think, these soft skills are skills that I believe are versatile. Anywhere you want, remember, I'm making you valuable. So it means that regardless of the sector you are in, you should be able to have these soft skills that will make you, that will keep you in the job. Teamwork, leadership, critical thinking. I mean, you are working with in the sector, so you should be able to critically think. You have a sheet that is not balancing well, for example, and you are so it takes critical thinking to be able to figure out where the discrepancy is coming from. Problem solving is a skill you need to develop, right? These are skills that will be necessary in your sector. You have a problem with budgeting, or the budget is not enough. So how can we use what we have to be able to um, accomplish certain goals? So you should be able to bring out solutions. So problem solving is a skill that people in that industry should be able to develop. And even, of course, personal effectiveness and self-confidence. These are all skills that you need to develop as a person, first of all, and in any industry. Or specifically, I've mentioned some of you that I think for your industry as a financial person, you should develop very well and make sure that you are building on those skills, even though it's not very easy and it's the process, right? So I don't know if I think that should be a community. I don't know if this answers your question. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering that question. Someone is asking if there's a link that could be shared on the group to access these soft skills. Mm.
Okay, yes, as I mentioned, on Jobberman we have a training which is self-paced, which means you can take it at any time and you can finish it in one day, you can finish it in 2 weeks, 1 month. The moment you finish, you are certified. You just go on Jobberman website and search for. You can just do a Google search, Jobberman soft skills, and you take you directly. You sign up, you take the course. The course well, like you enjoy it. I tell you, you enjoy it. It's something that when you take your time, don't just watch the course. Take the time to listen to the video recordings and ask yourself questions. And what I would recommend is after every of the course, don't rush to the next one. Go online and even do your own personal research on those courses and ask yourself, how does it relate to my personal ambitions or to myself as a person? How does time management relate to me? That's when you begin to remember that the time you were unable to meet up a deadline was because you lacked time management as a personal, as a soft skill. So relate each of those soft skills you'll be learning to yourself and where you intend to apply for. So the link will be dropped, but as I've mentioned, some of these things you need to do them yourself. So I will not wait. I will not expect you to wait for that link. I will expect that after this call, you are doing the research because it's something that is about your own um, progress and growth. So do the research. Don't do a Google search. Jobberman soft skills training or soft skills course. You'll see the link. But I will definitely still share the link, the direct link on our WhatsApp platform by the end of this call.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clement. I believe this is the last question, and it was is so I believe this should be the soft skills. This person is asking if they are the same as physical skills. So soft
Okay.
skills same as physical skills?
Okay, so I don't know if my slide still showing on your end. Do you still see my slide?
Yes, we can
My
see them now. You're visible.
okay. I'm sure you can see that I used Canva, right? So that is a hard skill that you need to develop. So I just want to quickly see if I can get that slide where I talked about soft skills. So practically we have two types of skills. The skills are generally categorized into two. So it's either you have what we call the soft skills, or you have what we call the hard skills. So for hard skills are called technical skills. I don't know if that's what you are considering calling physical skills. So when I'm explaining this at my trainings, I simply tell participants that hard skills are simply any skill that you need to learn and you can teach someone, and the quality of your performance can be measured. For example, if you go to a restaurant, cooking is a skill that needs to be learned, and you can teach someone how to cook, right? And if I eat your food, I can know if the food is tasty or not. That means you can teach the skill, you learn the skill, and it can be measured. The quality of the performance can be measured. That is more like a technical skill. So any skill that has to do with like for example, I've mentioned some here, writing, um, MS Word, mathematics, being able to use Excel, being able to make your hair, that is hairdressing, being able to barb a hair, being able to drive a car. That is a technical skill or a hard skill. Being able to use some of the financial tools and the rest, those are all hard skills because these are skills that you probably will have to learn in school. So the skills you learned in your degree are hard skills. So beyond these hard skills, this is what we now talk about, the soft skills that will keep you, that will make you preserved in the job. And the funny thing is that even if you have the hard skills, if you're unable to even communicate, for example, your ability, your competence, you might not even get the job. And or let's give an example, like you employ someone, the person is very good at what he does, but does not have team spirit. He's always fighting with everybody in the office, or is always abusing your customers when they call. The person is the customer rep, but everybody calls and complains that your customer rep was very harsh when I called, right? So that means the person might have the hard skill of Microsoft Word, or even using of journalism, or technical writing or ghostwriting, but lacks even the core skill of effective communication, skill of problem solving, leadership, interpersonal skills. So soft skills are people skills, behavioral skills, skills that enable you to relate well with people, are soft skills. And those are skills that you need to develop on your own, that you necessarily would not learn in school. So yes, I don't know if that explains your question. Okay. Any other question? Nora.
Yes, I believe we have one more. It says, can we see all these hard skills on Jobberman? The likes of how to use Excel, I believe that is Microsoft Word, Canva, BI, etc. If you are interested in learning Microsoft Excel, Power BI, SQL, Tableau, or all tools related to data analytics, you can easily reach out to me on WhatsApp, and I can guide you on the process to get started. Mr. Clement, do we have something like that on Jobberman?
Okay, so Jobberman specifically train people on soft skills. Like I mentioned, there are a number of websites you can learn the hard skill of your choice. I think the current slide shows some of those sites where you can learn. And as Nora already mentioned, if you want to learn from a tech hub that has the track record of giving out good teachings both remotely and in person, reach out to Dahel. consultants and techies for you to learn things around um, data analysis and the rest. But if there are other hard skills you want to learn, a quick search on would help you learn. You have the edx.org, you have W3 schools, you have Future Learn, you have Coursera. YouTube is a platform you can learn all the skills, and then you can. So you should just do the and then on Jobberman, we obviously also recommend some of these sites on the platform. But if you want to learn hard skills, which are technical skills, like I've mentioned, there are websites like this you can go for. But if you want to learn soft skills, which are also very important, as we have said, then come on Jobberman and learn those soft skills.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Clement, for answering that question. I can't see any more questions, so I believe we have come to the end of the questions. All right. Okay, I see one. Coursera. Okay. I believe we have Coursera, we have YouTube, we have Udemy.
Yeah. Okay, the person that's asking the question, I don't know if you are seeing the screen. You can just take a screenshot of what is shown
Perfect.
here.
I think that would be better.
Yeah, take a screenshot and do your own research as well. It differs for industries. So like I mentioned, you need to know the current trend. So industries are developing. For example, you might need to know how to use what we call tax management tools. For the current slide I'm showing now, if you look at the right hand side, you see what the tax management tools. There are companies now that use tax management tools. For example, Trello, right? So in a regular organization, you would expect that if they want to give you a tax, they should call you or send you an email. But companies now are using tax management tools where they will simply attach you to a tax and add your name, your profile to that team to execute that tax. So if you don't know how to use that tool, it becomes a problem. So you can begin to ask yourself, where do I learn this tool, so that even if the next job they're asking me, can you use this tax management tool? You say yes, because on this training we mentioned it, and you've done your own personal research on YouTube, on different websites, and even going to this website themselves, because they have videos. When you go to the website, they have videos on how to use these tools. So you utilize these tools and learn and practice at least one or two of them that are relevant in your industry, so that you'll be outstanding and you'll be ready for the next job application.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clement. I can't see any more questions in the chat box, so I believe we have come to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of our Job Readiness Conference 4.0, I would sincerely like to thank every one of you for choosing growth over comfort this evening. Thank you to our exceptional speaker, Mr. Clement Mose, for sharing his practical insights that remind us that employability is about far more than certificates, far more than degrees. Thank you to the Health Technologies team for organizing this impactful event. And thank you to every participant who showed up, engaged, asked thoughtful questions, and invested in becoming better. Tonight's conversation reinforces one important truth: the future belongs to those that never stop learning. A degree is valuable, but continuous learning, adaptability, communication, digital skills, and problem solving are what makes professionals indispensable. Before we leave, I'd also like to encourage you to stay connected with the health technologies. This conference is just one of the many initiatives designed to help young people, professionals, and entrepreneurs build relevant skills for today's world. If you've benefited from tonight's session, don't keep it to yourself. Invite someone else to join our community, follow our pages, attend our future programs, and continue learning, continue growing, and continue preparing for opportunities before they arrive. On behalf of the Health Technologies, thank you once again for being part of our July Job Readiness Conference 4.0. My name is Ralia Abrishi. Have a wonderful evening. Stay curious, stay employable, and remember, beyond your degree, it is your skills that truly set you apart. Have a good night, everyone.